In today's episode of the Pathline Presents podcast, I have an interesting guest here with me today. I'm with Tyson Wigfall, and he's hailing over from the team over at Breakthrough. And at Breakthrough, they're all about helping private practice physical therapists and chiropractors to manage, grow, attract people to their business, convert, and then measure the results. So that's what basically Breakthrough is all about. And today we're going to talk with Tyson all about Breakthrough. So welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course, yeah. So maybe give us a quick overview. What is Breakthrough? I mean, I took away a little bit already, but what's Breakthrough all about in your own words?
Yeah, well, terrific summary already. So glad that some of our messaging is sort of correct there. In terms of Breakthrough, kind of taking a big step back, we're a very mission-driven company. And so we are really focused on flipping the pyramid in the US healthcare system. And so we look at US healthcare budget, about $4 trillion budget. 72% of that budget is spent on medications, invasive procedures, surgeries, and only 10%, really less than 10%, is spent in conservative care in all its forms. So that's physical therapy, chiropractic care, podiatry, functional medicine, more naturopathic care. And so we are on a mission to really help people think of the conservative options prior to surgery and medications. Certainly in certain cases, surgeries and medications are necessary, but in many, people would have far better outcomes if they went a conservative path first. So we really accomplished that mission by partnering with private practice physical therapists and chiropractors, helping them grow. And we have really three core products. One is a SaaS-based product that is, we call it patient demand software, that is a combination of marketing automation and CRM, really built for PTs and chiropractors. We have also professional services, which are mainly advertising services. So we'll do meta advertising, Facebook, Instagram. We will do TikTok and Google ads for physical therapists and chiropractors. Then we have a third product, which is really a course-based product and training. We have quarterly events that we do seminars on really three pillars of practice growth, which are your personnel, your finance, and your marketing. And we'll really educate the market on those things. And that's really a third product of ours. Together, we call ourselves a patient demand platform, and really those three key areas.
Makes a lot of sense. Now, what's quite interesting is, or interesting to me at least, is who within those practices is actually the one who's reaching out and getting in contact with you. Because I mean, in some cases it might be the owner, but very often I imagine them to be very offline active, not necessarily on the computer all the time. Who's bringing such a tool in for that type of optimization?
Yeah, it's a good question. Primarily, it's the owner. We look at like the buyer's committee for us. Most of the market is relatively small. Chiropractic is, most of the practices are just one chiropractor. About 90% of the market just have one chiropractor and a couple of staff. Physical therapy is a bit of a bigger market in terms of there's more consolidation, some larger practices, but typically it's an owner, and he or she's the decision maker as well. They may have a partner that's making the decision along with them, but typically it's that. Once you get into larger practices, there'll be a marketing director or someone else that's in there as an influencer, may also be a decision maker, but typically it's the owner. And coming to kind of what you said, it's less of a, let's say, like a tech savvy market. A lot of what you hear is like, the MarTech market and some other things. Our buyer is definitely a little less tech savvy. So when it comes to a software, they typically have their EMR, so their electronic medical record software. Then outside of that, they might use like a MailChimp or Constant Contact for email, but overall marketing automation software, they just typically don't use. So a lot of what we do is around educating the importance of a software like what we have, and then also after educating and trying to create some demand for that is then looking to capture that demand.
Yep, no, that makes a lot of sense. Super interesting. Now, how do they find you guys then, right? So if they are potentially a little bit, they're very busy, obviously, in their daily work, in their practices. Like, how do they learn about Breakthrough? What's the journey that they typically go through?
Yeah, a lot of our journey leads with content, and so we've over the past several years really emerged as a thought leader in the space, certainly within the digital marketing realm. So there's two really big programs that we have from a content standpoint that become really an anchor pillar for just a lot of our demand gen strategy. We have a podcast. I think we're in 120, I think 100%, 120 around there. So we've been going for quite a while with that weekly podcast on practice growth that does quite well from a viewership standpoint or download standpoint. And then we have a webinar program that we do both really to our internal list that we built, as well as we'll partner with some other companies in the space. Both of those programs we create a lot of content from. We talk about practice growth at a very macro level. We talk about specifically about practice growth through digital marketing and automation and software as well. So those become pretty big like pillars for us and create a lot of our strategy. So a lot of our customers hear about us from either webinar program or through the podcast. And then additionally, kind of their print is still relevant, direct mail is still relevant. And so we have a pretty, let's say, kind of healthy mix of channels and what we do to attract new customers.
What do you think, which role does the website play in their journey? How do you think about that part of the journey?
Yeah, website is typically, I mean, it plays a really important role. It plays a role from very, very top of funnel. Our blog, we rank pretty well for some key search terms that they search specifically around marketing. We're typically top 3 or 4 in SERPs around different marketing terms in PT and Cairo. So that kind of introduces people into kind of the ecosystem. In terms of once you get sort of this mid funnel to bottom of funnel and people are going through our product page, our pricing page, trying to understand us more. And then we get a decent amount to come in inbound, of course, through our demo form. And then when you kind of look to see like, how do they hear about you? We have a written in field that they can mention. Sometimes it's from like our Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads. Other times it's from the podcast. So you just kind of start to see this mix of attribution, but definitely plays a role. It's interesting. Our website, like when it comes to like a conversational side, like chat bots or chat isn't as prevalent. Don't get as much communication there. You see a good amount of bouncing between product pages and pricing page, though, typically before someone comes to buy. Heavily on the About Us page, kind of looking through our values, and like that's a very frequented page, which I think is pretty common, but like we kind of don't think about optimizing those pages so much. But it's definitely a big portion of where people go to try to understand us better.
That's very, very true. Is there something, I mean, along that lines that you've picked up over the years when it comes to actually, driving more demo requests from the website? Any tools, approaches, methods, anything that you found to be helpful in your journey as a marketer?
Yeah, there's a couple things. One is post demo, right? So I think a thing that's often just misused or underutilized, I would say, in terms of just post form in general, is capturing, really allowing that person to quickly get on your calendar. We use Chili Piper, so if someone looks to schedule a demo, we allow them to do it right away. Additionally, like if you're not other forms, if you're any form that you may have, I know there's the whole thought of gated versus ungated, but thank you page experience is really important. So allowing someone to take a next step, whether that be to continue on digesting more content, whether that allows them to do some middle funnel action, maybe like some marketing assessment that we'll do for different practices, has helped. And then we leverage like Opt-in Monster on certain things. So sometimes we'll do some exit pops with some additional content to try to keep people on pages. We'll have some kind of floating bars come up with some like ongoing webinars and different things that we do to try to get them back into the ecosystem. So those are just a few of the things that we do.
Very cool. I mean, you as a marketer, I mean, I'm not sure if it's relevant in your industry, or if marketers in your sort of peer groups talk about it. But the cookieless future is coming ahead. Is that something that you as a marketer start thinking about already? Is it in the back of the minds? Like, what's your take? What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's coming, right? I think the main thing I think about in that really probably twofold. One, we got to continue to make sure we can get in front of the right audience. So I think of specifically when it comes to like a paid media or paid digital, we've noticed cookie depreciation with Facebook ads specifically. It used to be a really viable channel for us, getting in front of the right audience and Facebook has become more difficult for us. So there's things like that. So we've talked with different companies just around, LinkedIn level targeting for Facebook and that whole use case. And so just started working with metadata actually in terms of that and starting to really refine and continue to be able to reach people. But I think the key thing is like really, I would say, is really building your own audience. I mean, one thing that we've done over the years is we've built a pretty big audience, both like we have a Facebook group with a couple of thousand members. And then we also have a pretty active email list that we built over years of just our own audience. And then we can kind of control the narrative and continue to get in front of the right people as well. And so I think it's right, continue to create really good content and then look for ways to own the audience so you can get that content in front of them.
Ooh. No, super interesting. I mean, you shared already a great wealth of insights on what you guys are doing and how you're thinking about growth for the company. I have some rapid fire questions to wrap it up for
Great.
today. Are you ready for those?
Yes, let's do it.
What is the last book you read or the last podcast you listened to?
The last podcast I listened to, probably State of Demand Gen, Chris Walker. I listened to that. And then, Greater Practice with Chad Matt is a podcast that we have. So I listen to that weekly as well. Last book, I'm reading right now through Situational Leadership, which is a quick one, good book. And then before that, 5 Behaviors of a Dysfunctional Team, like the Pat Lencioni book on the pyramid of the 5 behaviors of a cohesive team. So those are the last 2 books, both leadership books.
I was actually, you mentioned the Refined Labs folks there. I was thinking about it when you mentioned the how did you hear about us field in the demo film. Very good. What's one single thing that your company is focused on the most at the moment?
Well, yeah, we're focused at the most at the moment is continue to build upon our SaaS-based product. We were not always a SaaS company, so it's a super big focus of ours. We've always had a software, but it used to be coupled with some of our professional services, and now it's decoupled and truly a SaaS solution. So as a company, that's what we're very focused on, continue to build and improve.
If there would be no boundaries in technology, what's the one thing that you would fix for your role as a marketer?
These sort of solutions already exist, but I mean, I would be able to continue to get instant feedback on how people view messaging. Like the more I can do that, the better. And there's certainly technology that allows you to test that at scale, but I think there's always something missing there because the quicker you can refine and hit on the right value props, pain points, just the faster you can really grow and figure out how to solve them. So I would say continue to improve on that type of automation.
And if we do a little bit of time travel, right? If we go back, let's say we go all the way back maybe to Pomona, right? So you're heading out of formal education, you're heading into the world of business and growth and ultimately marketing. What's the one advice you would give yourself for your journey?
Yeah, that's a great one. First off, if I went back to Pomona, I would have been an economics major. I would have switched my major, and from the get-go, really understood P&L more, understood like metrics and running a business, and from the get-go, really started to learn like how to do a bottoms-up, top-down, like just forecast and analysis. In terms of marketing, I would have told myself right away to dive into books on just psychology, books on like how people think and persuasion, and marrying that up with marketing and understanding that. And I would have said from the get-go, dive into, I came from mostly a good demand gen background. I would have dove into product marketing sooner. Yeah. And earlier in my career.
Very cool. Tyson, I really appreciate that you took the time with us today to be guest on Platform Presents. I want to give you the very last word. If somebody would be forgetting all that we discussed about breakthrough, what's the one thing that they should remember?
We're flipping the pyramid in U.S. healthcare, really helping people to think about conservative options prior to surgeries and medications. So that's our big mission, and we're focused on building, making change in the U.S. and the world.
Thanks a lot for being a guest on Platform Presents.
Thanks for having me.